So I went into my bookshelf of all my wonderful books, and this one just popped out at me, this thing called You. Ernest Holmes' book. Ernest Holmes has written many books. I love this one. It just has wonderful affirmations and wonderful messages, much smaller than most of his other books. And before I even turned onto the page that spoke to me for today, I looked at the cover, and what is written is, "You are the only person you can ever know intimately. You are the one with whom you must live eternally." I thought, that's so true, isn't it? I'll read it again. "You are the only person you can ever know intimately. You are the one with whom you must live eternally." Right on, Ernest. You know? So yeah, so true, isn't it? That, you know, on the spiritual journey, really the person we're connecting with more deeply is ourselves. It's about coming back to our divine self, to who we truly are, amongst all the other, you know, away from everything else. You know, all the little names we give ourselves: mother, son, daughter, accountant, doctor, you know, all these things. Yes, that's a title, but that's not who we are. We're so much more than that, aren't we? So turn to the person next to you and just say, "You are so much more than you think you are." Just turn to the person next to you.
You are so much more than you think you are.
So much more than you think you are.
So much more than you think you are.
Yes, true? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So I wanted to talk today about intuition, and just I sat with it a lot this week about what is intuition, and what does it mean, and how do we use it in our life, and so I'll share with you some of that, and then I wrote a whole lot about taking the high road and what that means, and what that means to choose that, and I have it written down so each one of you will get that to take home. What is our intuition? How would you describe it? Because probably we'd all describe it something a little bit different.
That inner knowing.
That inner knowing.
For me, I wouldn't say it's knowing as much as just telling me there's a direction here that might be good. I mean,
A guidance?
common guidance.
Okay.
I sort of think of it as a voice from the closer to the God self. That's the inner knowing part.
So the interesting question is, what stops us from listening to it? Because it's there for all of us, isn't it? Fear. Yeah, it's a big part, isn't it? You know, it's there, all of us. I mean, you know, it's not just women. I know we talk a lot about women have that intuitive sense. Men do too, and we all do, and we're all born with it. It's who we are. It's that divine essence of who we all are. So it's there for each one of us, always. You know, it doesn't ever go away. It's just whether you're tuning into that channel or not. So it's a wonderful thing to think about, you know, where you are at in this moment with your own intuition, and how can you tune in? Because I think no matter where we are in this journey with it, we can always go deeper. You know, it's like there's no, it's not like you reach this point and you go, okay, nowhere else to go, you know. There's always more. I mean, there's always more to learn about ourselves. There's more to dive into. You know, I think we've only, all of us, and I'll speak for me, only just tapped the surface. You know, I used to think getting old was kind of a, you know, a funky thing. Now I think it's like, gosh, you know, bring it on. You know, it's like this old wine that tastes sweeter with, you know, with age. And really, you know, the older we get, the older I get, the more I realize I don't know, you know, which is such a great place to start with, because when we're open to the not knowing, is when we open up to more. When we start with I know everything, I know everything, then we can't open up to more coming in because we've already closed that door. So it's a wonderful place to start with is I'm an open vessel. I'm open to hear. I'm open to more. I'm open to receive. I'm open to learn. I'm open to grow. So what I love about this practice is being able to affirm these things and shift the consciousness around it, because the ego says the opposite. The ego says, I know it all. I have the answers.
I'm in control.
I'm in control. You know? And the heart says what? I'm open. I'm receptive. So really, to begin to open up, we tune back in here. I teach a beautiful yogic practice called Kundalini Yoga, and in the class, our eyes are closed the whole time to tune back into ourselves, except for when we're seeing, like if I'm not teaching and I'm taking the class, we open our eyes to see what the next posture is. My students open their eyes to see what I'm doing next, right? Then our eyes get closed again, and our focus is normally, it can change, but normally our focus is right here. So we're connecting back to that intuitive place, that knowing place. And it's not just here, it's our whole being. So it's a nice meditation if you want to practice just going here and seeing how that feels. What is it like to connect to that intuitive center? What is it, can you feel the light just being open? It's just about connecting back in. So the interesting question that popped up as I was writing all this down was, how do we know, it's a really good question, how do we know when it's our intuition talking, our God self, our higher self, our divine essence, our heart, and when it's that ego part of the mind talking?
Intuition is more based around the heart area. It has nothing to do with the mind, because then the mind can play tricks on you. What people say, you should do this, or expectations come in. Your intuition might be one thing, and then your mind says, no, I can't. I might not be able, I can't do that, or whatever. Or I need to change something. No, you can't. It's the mind talks. It can't be trusted. But if you go deeper, the actual intuition is at a much deeper level.
Yeah.
So also for me, when I listen to it, it actually makes you feel light and feel joyful and very comfortable in yourself. When I listen to it.
Yeah. And I'm sure all of us in the room can say there's times we didn't listen and we had wonderful learning experiences. I certainly have. The times that my little voice said, Laurie, don't do that, and I did it anyway, and it was really interesting. I thought, okay, that was a good lesson. And that's life, isn't it? Because it's like there's no mistakes. There's no doing it wrong. There's just learning. And everything's an opportunity to learn and to grow, and that's what we're here for.
But if you based it upon your intuition, like that inner being, that gut feeling, then it's usually right, because you're connecting with the source, and with what is really you.
Absolutely.
Inside your heart. So it's not usually wrong. Everyone else can be telling you don't do it, or it shouldn't, in your own mind, you shouldn't do it, or what would happen if. But if you trust your gut feeling, it's usually right.
Oh, absolutely. When I was saying when you don't trust it is when you get learning experiences. What I got very strongly when I was writing this was what you guys were saying was very much about that if something's feeling hard, so if you're going in a direction and it's feeling hard and it's feeling like a struggle, then that might be a good message to tell you that maybe it's not your higher self guiding you, and to actually stop back, take some breaths. I love to go with this meditation of asking your whole self. Right? So tuning in, asking the whole of you about this direction. Like, is this right for the whole of me? And the whole of me being the mind, body, the spirit, our whole being, right? So it's not just one part, it's everything. And then, and your heart, and then you get, yeah, you know. So then you're going from honoring that whole of you, which is what the intuition is, the whole of you. It's that deepest knowing, it's that deepest core of spirit, that truth, that light.
Can I just say something about when it is hard? Sometimes, you know, I've found I follow a path that I internally feel is right. Sometimes the path is very hard, as you say, and you think, well, maybe I'm not following your intuition. But something I found was that sometimes it's still the right path, you just have to change your approach to what you're thinking about what's happening. And then you get the message, and then you think, oh, why didn't I see that before? So it seems hard, but it's really you just have to change your interpretation of the situation, and you realise why you're there.
Beautiful point. I love the sharing because, you know, everyone has something beautiful to share. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely true. But so often we're geared, and not anyone in this room, of course, but so often, you know, that that mindset of that I want to call the ego mind, but that part of us that likes drama, you know, that thrives on drama, you know, likes the struggle, is almost addicted to the struggle. And you know, it's an interesting thing because growth comes sometimes from the hardest things. You know, really, for me, getting cancer was the biggest wake-up call of my life as a healer and as a minister. And, you know, for me, it was the greatest blessing ever in my life. So from hard things come incredible gifts. From illnesses, from anything comes incredible gifts. But I guess it's about coming back to you to tune in, you know, it's about tuning in, isn't it? It's coming back and tuning in and asking the whole of you what's right. And sitting with that, knowing that you know when it feels right because you feel joyful. You feel peaceful. You feel still. When the first time I came to Australia was in 1987. I forget whether it was 1986 or not. It's a long time ago. And I came here, I just was told I had to come. I mean, it was this calling for years. 20 years I was told I had to come here. I kept, at different times, and I kept going, oh, you know. The first time I was 20 years old. No, it was actually 10 years. First time I was 20 years old, I came when I was 30 years old. And then I was told that I was going to live here and move here. And that was so strong that I didn't fight it at all. I just went with it. You know? And my family thought I was crazy, and they still think I'm crazy. But, you know, after all these years. But it's sometimes the pull is so strong that we just have to surrender and go with it.
It's nice when it's that strong and there's no doubt. But sometimes it's strong and there's no doubt, but then there's all this risk associated with it.
But the doubt can be there. It's just about how much power do you give it. If I thought about it, I probably would have never done it. If I'd given it a whole lot of thought, and then, you know, the doubt, the fear, I could feel some of it there. I just carried it with me here. I put it in my suitcase and I brought it with me because it was far greater. Like I knew that I had to do it.
That's again bringing you back to what you were saying about trust, you know, and the intuition. Sometimes your mind is screaming at you, you don't do this, it's crazy. Some people might feel the same thing. Like if you feel it inside, you can usually build that feeling of trust and say, okay, it's going to be okay. I can't see what's going to happen, but it's going to be okay. And often it is.
And it's a practice, right? So spiritual practice is a practice. It's not like, you know, you stop doing it. It's a daily practice. It's a moment-by-moment practice sometimes. Not even a daily practice. A moment-by-moment practice. To keep looking at inside and being still enough to listen and still enough to, to trust the next step and to be willing to take the next step. Because we're all in the unknown, Really, aren't we? For me, I think the turning point for me was just knowing deep in my being that no matter what, I was being loved and guided and directed all the time. All the time by this divine spirit. All the time.
I think also when things work out as you're going through and down this path and you're not sure about the path, you're scared or there's risk, but then something happens and it works that way. You just have to learn, as you say, to trust. But when you see things working and settling and what was an obstacle suddenly gets fixed somehow, then you know you're on the right path. Because the universe always arranges things correctly.
And then at the next step of that, even deeper step of that, is to trust even when those things aren't showing up. That's the biggest one, because the mind goes, see, nothing's happening. Why isn't it happening? How come it's not happening? See, I told you went the wrong way. True? I mean, how many times have we heard that? Honestly, like I've been praying. Where is my prayer? Why isn't it answered already? No? Really? I prayed for 3 years for my husband. He finally came. Like, how come it took so long? I mean, so this is the stuff. This is where we're called to be so courageous. We're called to trust that it's happening even when we can't see it in front of us.